Jesus at Bethesda. The passage that we have selected tonight presents to our mind and to our consideration the case of a man who had been the victim of a dreadful malady for quite a number of years. The exact time is not known. The record only reveals that he had been around this pool 38 years. How long he had suffered previously, we do not know. We do know that there was a feast going on in Jerusalem, and Jesus was in attendance. For you see, Jesus was a strict observer of the religious tradition of his people. He kept the Sabbath, but he did not allow the Sabbath to restrain him from helping somebody. He observed the feast, but he kept an eye out even at the feast for those who were in need. So that he was loyal to the traditions of his people. And on this occasion, he arrived in Jerusalem, and if you had chosen, or if it had been possible for you to have been in Jerusalem, and some situation arose that necessitated your seeking out the whereabouts of Jesus, with a town full of people engaged in feasting, where would you have looked? Would you have sought out the merrymakers? Not only where would you have looked for Jesus, where would you have been? Would you have been with the crowd of merrymakers? Would you have been with the crowd that was engaged in festivities and parties? In that case, you would have missed Jesus. For Jesus went down to Bethesda. Bethesda, the very word means house of mercy, where an aggregation of people who were ill, a collection of broken, shattered human beings, people who could not join the fast crowd, people who could not take any part in any amount of revelry or merrymaking, people who were confined to one of the 5 porches at Bethesda. And Jesus went there, and upon his arrival, he sought out the worst case, the most chronic case, the oldest case at Bethesda. He arrived at Bethesda and walked along the aisles of the 5 porches, looking with compassion upon this feverish bride and upon that feverish bride, and possibly stroking the brow of another on another porch, saying an encouraging word here and there. But destiny had had set a date with Jesus, or set a date for Jesus, with this man who had been there 38 years. And he did not stop walking the porches until he had found it. Now, upon his approach to this man's bed, looking down on his broken and fevered and twiddling body, the first question was, do you want to be made whole? Think about that. What a challenging question. What an engaging question. What a searching question. Do you want to be? He did not ask him, or he did not say to him, do you want me to make you whole? No. He did not say, would you like to get away from here? No. But do you want to be made whole? Made whole. You see, wholeness is completion, perfection. Pray with me if you please. Wholeness is the existence of normality. Wholeness is when things are as they should be, so that one may be physically whole, but lacking in wholeness in mentality. One may be mentally whole and spiritually lame. I wish I had somebody here to pray with me tonight. It so happened, however, that consideration was for this man physically as well as spiritually. Do you want to be made whole? And you know, this is one of the most important questions. One of the most important decisions to be made. With respect to everybody. Not only with respect to this man at Bethesda, but somewhere along the line you must face this question. Do you want to be? Mother, it's a good thing. It's wonderful for you to be ambitious for your son. It's wonderful for you to have great dreams for him and to plan a great future for him. But the great question is, does he want to be what you want him to be? You may fret yourself and run yourself into all kinds of neuroses, trying to do something for somebody that don't want it themselves. You see, this is a thing that has to do with the will. This is a thing that has to do with individual initiative. Wife, you do well to wipe your eyes and quit crying and quit talking all night, trying to tell that husband what you think that he ought to do for the betterment of the family. The great question is, does he want a good family? Husband, it's high time that you stop thinking about that wayward wife who have no concern about saving for the future, about forethought for the future, who spend all of her time in the night houses, in nightlife, and you worrying and talking. The great question is, where she is concerned, does she want to be a good wife? Does she want to be a homemaker? That's a great question. Some folk got so much trouble with because you have not considered whether they want to be. And you may want it ever so bad, but if they are not interested, it doesn't mean too much. Do you want to be? Jesus knew the importance of this question. He knew the challenge. To think about this at first may seem that that was an unnecessary question to be asked. A man who'd been down there 38 years. A man who had been to the pool and had been disappointed 38 years. A man who had struggled and crawled to get near the water only to see somebody step in just before he made it. Might it seem like a funny question to ask that man, do you want to be made whole? But Jesus knew he'd never get up off that bed if he didn't want to first. Those of you who are listening to me tonight on your sick beds, some of your trouble must be taken care of by you. Yes, the doctor can do a lot. His medication will help. His skill at surgery will help. But then medicine doesn't do it all. And surgery is not the complete job. Some of this must be done by you. Along with surgery, along with medication, must go your desire to get well. I wish I had somebody here to pray with me tonight. Well, this may not be true in every case, but if you really want to, if you really get it down in your heart, down in your will, down in your disposition, somehow, with a little prayer and a lot of faith, somehow, God will bring you out. Listen, if you please. This man had been disappointed 38 times. 38 times. He'd possibly resigned and had possibly given up. 38 times. He'd possibly lapsed into negligence and indifference and just simply resigned to just staying here as long as God would permit him and going on when he couldn't do nothing else. I feel that too many people in hospitals tonight, too many people in sanitariums tonight have resigned. You got to keep in mind the words of Jesus. Do you want to be made whole? You know, sometimes we get a real desire mixed up with imagination. There are a lot of things that we imagine we want that we really don't really want. Isn't it so? We really haven't really decided. We imagine and we think about it, but we have not really gotten down to real desire or prayer. You know, prayer is a little more than just bowing down saying some words. Prayer is first of all is faith in God. And believing, my brothers and sisters, that God is. And believing, secondly, that you are his child. And believing, thirdly, that he's interested in you. I wish I had somebody here to pray with me. This man, I said, had been disappointed. I don't know, he evidently was not an attractive patient. He evidently was one of those patients that people shun. It might have been his condition. Might have been his condition. But the thing that struck me when I read the story was that wonder why in all that 38 years, somebody had not given him a hand. Wonder why in all of that 38 years, somebody had not aided him to the pool. It was thought of traditionally by these people that once a year an angel came down and troubled the water. And when that water was troubled, why divine perfection was left in the water. And whoever got to the water in time would be made whole. But I want to tell you tonight, Jesus is still at Bethesda. Jesus is still at the house of mercy. And the water is still being troubled. For you see, the Lord still has his Bethesdas around. And he still has his healing waters around. Oh, Lord. And in fact, he has a better Bethesda today than possibly in that day. And at least better than that one was at Jerusalem. For in Jerusalem, only one man could be made whole. Oh, Lord, if you pray with me, I feel pretty good. In Jerusalem, only one man could be made whole. And if the other one didn't get in first, he had to go back as a man in the story and lay down in bed for another year. Oh, Lord. But I want to tell you, the Lord still has his Bethesda in Detroit. He has them not only in Detroit, he has them in America. And not only in America, his Bethesdas are all over the world. Yeah. And he has hosts and legions of angels every day. And then every hour, something in the water. Yes, he has. Lord, and the only thing you have to do is step in by faith. And he'll do the job for you. Yes, he will. Oh, Lord, every day, the angel is coming down, something in the water. If you have a malady of selfishness, you ought to step in tonight. If you have a malady of bad-heartedness, you ought to step in tonight. Lord, Lord, if you have a bad heart, you ought to step in tonight. Yeah. If you have an evil mind, you ought to step in tonight and let my Lord make you whole. Yeah. And even if you're on a sick bed, and even if you're in a sanitarium, you can step in tonight. Yeah. Every day. Every day. And then every hour, my Lord is at the pool. Lord, Lord. Every day. You ought to see him. He plays the pool tonight. Every hour. My Lord is waiting right now for you to step in. One Thursday morning. In 1929, I stepped in for the